From the grandstands, we are live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody. We are here from the grandstands. PhilipTheTitan here, and I wanted to talk about the art of war and how Formula One is currently using all the strategic stratics to use it to their advantage. And the one team that dominated with it this weekend in Brazil was Honda. We almost had a Honda podium. You could say it's because of luck. You could say it's because of just about anything. But it came down to a lot of good driving from a lot of good drivers. And even Lewis Hamilton, man, he drove his car to the end. And, it didn't pay off for him. But it shows that he was willing to go the full extent. So let's just jump into it. It all started off very quickly in the weekend with something simple. Max Verstappen and laying the plans for the rest of the weekend. Laying the plans were getting the fastest time. Making sure the other Red Bulls were just as fast in some way or another. We saw Pierre Gasly, top of the sheets, throughout the weekend. And Albon. But then that wasn't the only thing they wanted to do. They were exploring the fundamental factors of how could they win this race? So it gets pretty deep, actually, guys, because then it goes to the second part of the art of war, and it was the challenge, the raging of war to the rest of the grid, and you saw that immediately as soon as the lights went out. Max Verstappen on pole position, he jumped. Like, his car was one second to 0 to 60. I mean, it was the fastest thing I've ever seen. He had the grip. He had the start. It was his. And sure enough, you had Albon and everybody else from the Red Bulls. You do the same. So what the whole point of this video is to talk about art of war that Honda brought to the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix. And that's what we saw. I didn't see anything less than that. Excuse me. So we move on to the third, which is the attack. The plan of attack. The plan of attack came early on in the weekend. In the first day on Friday, we had them crashing out because of the rain. And it looked like it wasn't Red Bull's track. Well, it turned out it was very much a Red Bull track, just dry. And we saw them really looking for strength and unity within Red Bull and Toro Rosso. This was done with both, not just one. And I think we see the future of how teams could work. Alfa Romeo and Ferrari could work together, but they don't. It's very sad, actually. And then we move on to tactical, which is positioning. So Max Verstappen on pole position. Let's pull up the whole grid order real quick. The grid for the 2019 grid. Actually, I have it right here in my pictures. Let's just pull it up. I always save those pictures because I think those are good pictures to have. Okay, so you had at the end of the race, you had Verstappen, Gasly. And then Albon, obviously, no Albon up there because of what happened. Thanks to Lewis Hamilton. Thanks a lot, dude. So then let's just go ahead and continue. So positioning was clear. They knew they needed to position the Red Bulls throughout the grid in a way that would benefit them when it came to overtaking and for keeping Max at the top. That worked really well. But then we move on to directing the strategic military power. And that was the Honda power unit. The power unit was so good for the weekend for both cars that we saw literally the cars go from, mediocre power units to probably the best power units on the grid. So that was awesome right there. So we're going to continue. Maneuvering of an army. Now this is cool because we saw, in the end, Pierre Gasly on second. So that didn't just happen overnight. It actually took a lot of work throughout the race of 71 laps. Sorry, I'm still all stuffy. basically the Toro Rossos being in the midfield, it gave an advantage to Red Bull itself, because then when we saw Albon lose it, it was perfect position for a Red Bull car to still be up there. And that's what we saw. So with having them placed in specific places on the grid, you guaranteed a chance that you were getting a Red Bull weekend. That's something Mercedes doesn't have the ability to do, and nor does Ferrari. Ferrari was at war with themselves. Art of war was between two drivers. You can't have that. It doesn't work that way. So, they could use Alfa Romeo to be good blockers and fillers, but they don't. So then let's go ahead and move on. I want to go into variation of tactics. And this played on into the race when we saw basically the boys in Toro Rosso, the boys in Red Bull, when Albon lost it, Pierre Gasly was able to, take it over. But it looked like we were going to have a 1, 2, 3 Honda finish if it wasn't for, psychopath, freaking psycho. I mean, that guy is just freaking weird, man. I mean, he has no conscience anymore. I'm starting to think he just doesn't even know what he's talking about. Lewis Hamilton maybe needs to just, go on a vacation. Maybe it's good to see the end of the year. But, yeah, this is a Red Bull race, and Red Bull knew how to bring the art of war. The army on the march, moving the force, maneuvering the army, movement and development of troops. Now, that was the whole entire team from both teams. And you saw that immediately with the boys. They were consistently battling for position and moving up position. They weren't backing down. The Honda power unit really provided them the sword for fighting. And I just thought it was amazing. The art of war came from Honda. Classification, situational positioning. That is another Pierre Gasly move. We saw Pierre Gasly do that again. It's funny too, because I'm thinking now about things, and I'm thinking that maybe Daniel Kvyat is definitely not the driver to be even on the grid. We need another Red Bull competitor in that Toro Rosso or AlphaTauri or whatever they're going to call in the future. Configuration of terrain. They understood that track was suited for a Honda. They knew it was suited for the Red Bull car overall. So let's move on to the 9 situations, which are the 9 terrains. Basically, this is from Wikipedia. Describes the 9 common situations on stages in a campaign from scattering to deadly. Deadly would be Daniel Kvyat and Albon. Focus that a commander will need in order to successfully navigate them. Now, Christian Horner, I've said my piece about the guy. I'm not a big fan, but he commanded the greatest army of the weekend. Let's just face it. They went to war. And you know what? I don't care if Lewis Hamilton's the overall champion and blah, blah, blah. He didn't win Brazil. And if you can't win every race, then you're not the champion. You're a champion. That's it. So, attack by fire, the Fury attack. Well, we saw this happen again. But we saw this actually from Charles Leclerc. He caused the Valtteri Bottas to burn out his power unit. And he took him to the long haul. And no one wants to talk about it, but Charles Leclerc really put Valtteri in his paces and burnt his power unit out. That would be attack by fire. But lastly, use of spies, the use of intelligence, employing spies, intelligence and espionage. Forces on the importance of developing a good information sources and specifics, the 5 types of intelligence sources and how to best manage each of them. Now, I wouldn't say there was any spies in the pits or anything, but what I would say is there was definitely enough information coming in and out, which was beneficial to the Red Bulls to know how the weekend was going to go. Mercedes wasn't strong, neither was Ferrari. Doesn't matter what you saw in practice, because what I saw in practice was a weak bunch of cars. But so those were the 13 chapters of the Art of War and how it played out for Red Bull Honda. They knew to bring the Art of War to this, and they knew they had to. So I was very impressed. So this video is just basically, guys, about simply discussing what this race was. And I feel like every other team who failed this weekend did not understand that this race was a warriors race. It wasn't a spectator race. It was, we loved it, but it wasn't for the spectator. It was for the drivers, and they knew, I want to win today. I want to win. So for us spectators, we got the spectacular show. So I think we need to see more races where the Art of War plays. So if we get another race like this, you'll see another Art of the War film for me. But for now, this is my, my take from the race. This is my, 13 chapters of the Art of War from the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix. And I think it was a fantastic race. I'm looking forward to Yas Marina Circuit. And I think we're going to have a great time. But till next time, guys, remember, hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, support the channel. And if you guys like the Art of War, my interpretation of how the race went of the Art of War, let me know. I'll definitely do more. I would like to do more. I think it's very special. I think it's really cool. Other than that, though, guys, congratulations. I want to shout out to Verstappen and Gasly. You guys did amazing. So did you, Albon. The 3 Hondas were fantastic. I think they all deserve a pay raise and enough money to go buy a Bugatti and a new house and a pretty little lady to put in both. But until then, guys, thank you so much. From the Grandstands, PhilipTheTitan here. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and week coming up. And I hope you guys could get in the video. Let me know if you guys want to see more Art of the War from races. We could discuss what team brings the Art of the War and which ones don't. Other than that, thank you. You guys have a wonderful week. From the Grandstands, PhilipTheTitan here. Bye, guys. Make sure to subscribe.